An exclusive video from the frontline posted by local Ukrainian media showing the Ukrainian military destroying a Russian infantry tanks in the Pokrovsky sector using a first-person view (FPV) drone. The Ukrainian drone, costing about $372 to $496, destroys a Russian tank attempting to fire at Ukrainian positions, and the strike group Mosquitoes of the separate consolidated reconnaissance-strike unit of Brodyaga destroyed an entire Russian infantry tank. A Ukrainian serviceman with the call sign SALT, the commander of the crew that destroyed the tank, told media that the Russians continue conducting offensive actions in the Pokrovsky sector in the Donetsk region. The occupiers conducted another assault with the support of tanks and other armored vehicles. The Russian tank tried to fire at the positions of the Ukrainian military but was destroyed with the help of an FPV drone, he said. The video from the drone's camera first shows a direct hit on the tank, then an overhead shot as it continues to burn. The footage quality does not allow for determining exactly which tank model was affected. The cost of the drone used in the mission is approximately $15,000 to $20,000, $372,496. This stands in stark contrast to the significantly higher cost of the equipment destroyed. For example, the value of an older Soviet T-72 can cost nearly $500,000, and the cost of a new T-72 tank ranges from $3 to $4 million, depending on the configuration. FPV drones, which can drop explosives or serve as kamikaze drones, are causing heavy damage on the battlefield. Dmytro Lysenko, a drone pilot with the 109th Separate Territorial Defense Brigade of Ukraine's armed forces, hunts for Russian soldiers and heavy armor almost daily in the Donetsk region. He told Kyiv Post that during his time in the trench, while the Russians would shoot at them with everything possible, the drone was the scariest. A shell can fly and miss, and that's it. But a drone pilot aims and will be very accurate when they drop an explosive, and Special Operations Forces often report destroying enemy manpower concentrations with FPV drones. For instance, Special Ops reported the elimination of more than a dozen Russian soldiers during a successful mission, he said. The SSO also managed to destroy various pieces of military equipment, including armored personnel carriers, tanks, anti-aircraft missile gun complexes, self-propelled artillery pieces, mortar positions, and even TOS-1A 220mm Soln-Sepiok MLRS fitted with thermobaric warheads. Today, there are a lot of updates from the Kharkiv direction. Ukrainian forces are persisting with their audacious raids against positions of the Russian armed forces in and around Haliboke, aiming to realign the front line in preparation for future operations in this area. Here, Ukrainians have consistently seized the initiative in all directions in the region, inflicting heavy losses on Russian forces not only in the city of Vovchansk, but also through counterattacks north of Lipsy. Following their successful recapture of lost positions southwest of Haliboke, they began amassing additional forces around Lipsy for the next steps in their plan to push the enemy back across the international border. Firstly, the Ukrainian commanders initiated the deployment of fresh reinforcements, a move confirmed by frontline Ukrainian soldiers, who reported that approximately 2 brigades had been assembled around Lipsy in anticipation of future assault operations.
Пострел!
Russian soldiers confirmed these statements, sharing with their military bloggers that they had noticed a buildup of equipment near the front line and the reinforcement of second-echelon reserves over several days. Russian commanders provided further details, warning of a high concentration of Ukrainian strike battalion tactical groups along the entire front line. This buildup suggests that the armed forces of Ukraine are preparing a major counter-offensive in the coming days, supported by long-range artillery and Western multiple rocket launch systems. while Ukrainian also highlighted the recent arrival of new shipments of ATACMS missiles from Poland, totaling over 75 missiles, with at least half of them equipped with cluster warheads. Secondly, the Ukrainians persisted with their audacious raids against Russian positions in and around Haliboke, aiming to realign the front line, push the Russians back to the southeast of the village, and simultaneously initiate storming operations. Leveraging the strength and quality of their forces in the region, the Ukrainians succeeded, with intense fighting erupting soon within the village itself. A geolocated video released by Russian drone operators vividly illustrates the extent of Ukrainian penetration into Russian positions. The footage captures a Ukrainian Stryker armored fighting vehicle concealed in a tree line at the western entrance of Haliboke, attempting a surprise flank attack to destabilize Russian defenses. These Ukrainian assaults from the west of Haliboke were aimed at distracting the Russians from the main push towards the village, which came from the east, as can be seen on this geolocated video shared by drone operators of the Ukrainian Brigade Kartia. The footage shows at least 2 Ukrainian armored vehicles maneuvering into position to storm a Russian holdout in a tree line. As they arrive, a Ukrainian BMP-1 infantry fighting vehicle opens fire with its main gun to suppress the Russian defenders, allowing the assault group to dismount from an M113 armored personnel carrier. The BMP-1 then begins to slowly advance to the other flank, continuing its suppressive fire to support the ground troops. Subsequently, another M113 arrives, delivering additional soldiers and evacuating the wounded. Notably, the Western-made vehicle is equipped with a cage to protect against FPV drones. This proves invaluable moments later when an enemy drone detonates, unable to penetrate the M113's defenses, ensuring the successful delivery of reinforcements to the battlefield. As a result of several coordinated operations, the Ukrainians successfully pushed the Russians back, leading to confirmed reports from soldiers on both sides that the fighting has now moved into the village of Haliboke. The exhausted and heavily depleted Russian forces, facing imminent rotations, began mining the approaches to their positions in a bid to slow the Ukrainian advance.
Огонь!